20th, 1989, Amy, Ann, and I took a trip to the Soviet Union with a class of students of Mrs. Dorothy Vodopol of Marquette High School. Jana Dilley, a friend of Ann's, accompanied us on the trip. This is a brief video account of those experiences in the Soviet Union and in the United Kingdom. The trip began in St. Louis to Minneapolis to Boston, where we took an international flight to Copenhagen, and there we were told that Aeroflot did not fly to Leningrad on weekdays, and we had to take a flight to Moscow. After a 7.5-hour delay in the Moscow airport, we boarded a flight for Leningrad, and the following morning, after going to bed at about 4:30 in the morning and following an 8 o'clock breakfast, the story begins.
For more than 2 centuries, from 1712 up to 1918, St. Petersburg, as the city was called at that time, was the capital of Russia, one of the largest empires in the world. Its shape reminds of a spit. Well, the oldest building which can be seen from here is this building with a spire. It's the territory of the Peter and Paul Fortress, which we are going to visit also the day after tomorrow. The fortress was...
I think that's the back end of Peter the Great and his horse.
It is. The sun went under. Hey, what's that? I don't want to do that. I thought I was bringing mine. Go ahead, walk by, Dan. That's the airport. That's the airport.
That's Peter the Great, Ann.
What? What? What do you want this? The airport.
Ann, describe what we're seeing over here.
A horse. Peter the Great. Oh, Peter the Great. And he's standing on the serpent. Yeah.
This is Craig ducking under your camera.
Oh, yeah. It's cold. So cold. Very cold. Very cold. My hair? It might be cold.
Say something about how you feel.
Big black strip, it's me. I got me, it's very cold.
And about you, young lady?
What? Raj, what are you doing?
I'm gonna be in the picture.
We already pictured out.
Check it out, the cops got Volvos.
Oh, it is cold.
This is the cruiser Aurora, which was a focal point of the October 1917 revolution.
Almost feel like I took two pictures and then glue them together.
You guys, she wants us back.
This fountain at Petrogorsk symbolizes the Russian victory over the Swedes.
Oh, so we can picture our home around. Looking for posters. We're waiting for
Не надо, а то попадешь. А вообще я не боюсь, давай. Ничего страшного. Ну и чего мы теперь будем делать? Вам деньги платить надо, да? Да.
Probably if we have some time, we'll visit a Virgin church here in Cologne. It's a single Virgin church.
Hi, Mom. Are you shaking hands with it?
It's cold.
I know. Ball it, Jan.
Somebody left a bunch of cheese down here.
Swim it.
I don't know whether it's for ducks or what.
Not really that bad. Hey, if you stay there, a bird might come. one's trying. I know that one's trying to hold my smile.
Смена. Поста, шагов. Марш.
Okay, we're at the open market in the city of Kalinin. The old name is Tabar, just outside of Moscow, about 167 kilometers from Moscow. And this is an open marketplace. There are vegetables, there are automotive parts, almost anything that you can imagine. And Ann is operating the cameras. Well, Ann, take a scan with the camera down through the market there.
I hope it's recording. Alrighty, thank you. I already have everything I wanted. Dad will pay you back.
Mom, we're going this way. No.
Okay, we go this way.
На здоровье, девочки. Пей.
На здоровье.
На здоровье, самое главное.
На здоровье.
На здоровье только пейте.
To your health.
To your health.
Entrance to the Moscow Kremlin. How about that?
It was made by Andrei Chekhov in 1576.
Пустите, пожалуйста, я посмотреть. Пустите, поставь вперед себя. Как вот у меня есть эти.
Gelukkig.
You can never shop in Boom because there's 27,000 people shopping. And we were the smart ones that went and got ice cream. Well, no, we were the dumb ones. We had no good food the whole time. They allow so many people in the store, and then everybody shoved up against the counters, pointing and screaming. And there's no way you could even get in to look at the merchandise.
And you're dumb if you say no to a little boy who wants to sell you a watch.
Want ice cream? Ice cream in Russia. We were the smart ones that went and got ice cream because there's been no American food in the whole 2 weeks.
Ja, просто дочь. Я просто... Мои дочь.
Following our visit to the Soviet Union, we boarded an aircraft from Moscow to Copenhagen and then changed to British Air for a stop in London, where we picked up a car at Heathrow Airport the next morning and spent from the 21st until the 30th touring various parts of the southern coast of England and ending up at the home of Mr. and Mrs. Malcolm Alexander in Malvern, close to the points that were the home and birthplace of the composer Edward Elgar, whose music you hear in the background. We'll be entering at the nave, which is at the south side of the cathedral precincts.
Left behind, Joe. Wait, we left behind.
We're at the English Channel port of Dover, and what you saw just a few moments ago, aside from this display here, was a hovercraft headed for the French coastline and a P&O ferry returning from France, from either Calais or Boulogne. We're now looking at the port facilities at Dover. This film is being taken at the first bed and breakfast that we stayed at in England after our arrival from Moscow. It's at Charing in Kent, the home of Mr. and Mrs. William Pym.
I like it.
Well, we're driving down a little narrow road from what was the name of that? Barnwell. Mrs. Pym's, Mr. and Mrs. Pym's house, and this is the road back to Charing. And we're headed this morning to Westerham, which is the closest town to Churchill's home at Chartwell. There's a statue of Wolfe there at the end of this little park. And we're going to have lunch right there. Get a picture of that.
Don't look at it. Wait, Jen, don't look at it. Don't look at it. Oh, it's bird just on your head. Did it? Yeah.
Anne, what are you doing?
A bird just on our head. Did it really? Yeah, that's off.
This is the Rose Garden at Chartwell. Good morning. It's 6:15 a.m. on Friday, June 23rd. We're still at the Little Langford Farm bed and breakfast, just about 6 to 8 miles west of Salisbury. And today we'll be going into Salisbury Cathedral first thing after breakfast, and then going up to Stonehenge, and then straight out to some gardens which we saw listed in the Michelin book. The heel stone, right? What is this?
Wait, get a picture.
Royal Naval Air Station at Yeovilton, the location of the Fleet Air Arm Museum. It's also the place where the Concorde prototype 002 is permanently on display. And we're at Plymouth Harbor, from where the Pilgrims started out. Along with Sir Francis Drake, supposedly still continuing his game of bowls before he went out to defeat the Spanish Armada. This is where the Mayflower, according to history, left for America in 1620. This is Dozmerry Pool, where, according to legend, King Arthur was carried here after a battle in which he was killed, and his legendary sword Excalibur was thrown into the pool by Sir Lancelot. This is the Jamaica Inn in Cornwall, made famous by a Daphne du Maurier novel of the same name. We're now at Trelissick Gardens near Falmouth on the south coast of Cornwall.
Guys, quit climbing the trees. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Careful though, it's slippery. Oh, I could have fun climbing this tree.
This is the entrance to the harbor area at Penzance. It's the 24th at 7 p.m. in the evening. And out here on this spit of land, it's really not connected with the shoreline, is Michael's Mount. This is the home of Mrs. Phillips at Land's End. We're just a couple hundred yards from the sea here, and while it's warm today, there must have some pretty good winds through here, as this tree would seem to evidence, and some of the other trees are all bowed in the same direction. This is Tintagel, where, according to legend, Merlin the magician changed himself into a form recognizable to Guinevere, and years later Arthur was born, or was washed up on the beach, according to which legend was popular. And according to legend, this was the site of Arthur's Camelot. It began as a prehistoric settlement and was converted in the Iron Age into a hill fort. And you can see some of those fortifications in the lower part of the picture. It was still occupied at the time of the Roman invasion in 43 AD, and was refortified in the late 5th century. The names of the River Cam to the west and Queen Camel, a village, have given rise to a belief that the Battle of Camlan was fought nearby. And of course the builder would have had to have been King Arthur, and that Cadbury was therefore the fabled Camelot. Yes, indeed. Those are cows. It's now 7:30 on the morning of Tuesday the 27th, the home of Mr. and Mrs. John Swain in Cheddar, just outside of Wells, and about an hour and a half from Malvern. Well, this is the view from the Alexander's home at 62 Worcester Road in Malvern. This is our last bed and breakfast for this trip. It's the home of Mr. and Mrs. Clive Veal, and it's located in Chipstead, about 20 minutes drive from Gatwick Airport. We'll be leaving for Gatwick a little bit later this morning. June 12th through 20th, 1989, Amy, Ann, and I took a trip to the Soviet Union with a class of students of Mrs. Dorothy Vodopol of